This is a video I've wanted to make for a bit on Project 2025. I just want to acknowledge that today, July 13th, 2024, someone shot at President Trump former President Donald Trump at his rally. I do not condone such violence. I would never wish anything like that upon anyone, regardless of whether I agree with them or not. Now, that's what I'll say about that. But I'm going to read just a few sections from Project 2025. It's not a 900-plus page document written by the Heritage Foundation, intended for being implemented during a conservative taking over in the White House, being elected to the White House. Near the bottom of page 4 and onto page 5, it says this: today the left is threatening the tax-exempt status of churches and charities that reject woke progressivism. They will soon turn to Christian schools and clubs with the same totalitarian intent. Quite an extreme assertion there with no evidence as far as I have heard. The next conservative president must make the institutions of American civil society hard targets for woke culture warriors. This starts with deleting the terms. Let me emphasize this. This agenda they want to encourage starts with deleting the terms sexual orientation, gender identity, diversity, equity, and inclusion, gender equality, gender equity, gender awareness, gender sensitive, abortion, reproductive health, reproductive rights, and any other term used to deprive Americans of the First Amendment rights out of every federal rule, agency regulation, contract, grant, regulation, and piece of legislation that exists. So somehow abortion and gender equality threatens people's First Amendment rights. I don't see how it does that. This is clearly a reference to religious rights in the First Amendment. But no. I'm baffled as to see how gender equality is a threat. I would think anyone would want equality between people regardless of their gender, male, female, gay, straight, but I know the people who wrote this do not believe in gay or transgender people. That I know, and you should know as well. That's an obvious fact, and you cannot be denied. Page 5, the noxious tenets of critical race theory and gender ideology should be excised from curricula in every public school in the country. These theories poison our children, who are being taught, on the one hand, to affirm that the color of their skin fundamentally determines their identity. Not true. I don't know who says that. And even their moral status, while on the other, they are taught to deny the very creatureliness, whatever creatureliness means. This is straight out of Project 2025. To deny the very creatureliness that inheres in being human and consists in accepting the givenness of our nature as men or women. The givenness, whatever that means. I don't see how critical race theory, and critical race theory, mind you, is not taught in K through 12. It's taught in college level law school. This isn't something that's spoken about in K through 12 grades. It's not. I never even heard of it until after I left college years later, because it's taught in college level law school. That's the fact. Page 6, this refers to the supposed conservative desire for small government. And given what I just read about the attack on the left and the desire to eliminate terms like gender equality, reproductive health, reproductive rights from legislation, that doesn't sound like something that small government would have a hand in. This requires a big hand of government to step in and take control of these things. This is not small government. This is big government intention. These are intentions of a big government. This small government lets you decide for yourself the decisions you make in your life, including reproductive rights. Conservatives desire a smaller government not for its own sake, but for the sake of human flourishing. But the Washington establishment, I don't know what that is, that doesn't include them, doesn't want a constitutionally limited government because it means they lose power and are held more accountable by the people who put them in power. Just the opposite is true. If government steps in to stop reproductive rights and to remove the mention of reproductive rights from legislation, as the first part from pages 4 and 5 say, then small government is not the solution. I mean, it's not the intention if they want to take away these choices. And to suggest that they're being held more accountable, that doesn't make sense, because if government is interfering or deciding what rights are legislated, that's big government. So this small government claim that they've been saying, much like the trickle-down theory, is bogus and really has no backing. I don't know how anyone can see that. Okay, here we go with military recruitment. This is on page 102 to 103. This is just the sections of those 2 pages that specifically relate to military recruitment. Improve recruiting by suspending the use of the recently introduced MHS Genesis system that uses private medical records of potential recruits at military entrance processing stations, creating unnecessary delays and unwarranted rejections. So basically, they want to block the use of medical records of people that want to join the Army or Armed Forces. I would think that someone's medical record, their mental health, their physical health would be a factor in recruiting them into armed forces, would it not? So that's surprising. And here's another shocking part, shocking for me. Improve military recruiters' access to secondary schools and require completion of the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. In other words, secondary schools to complete the military entrance exam by all students in schools that receive federal funds. Okay, well now we all know the schools that receive federal funds are your public schools. This isn't about private schools, and there's no reference in here that I saw before or after this paragraph that indicates that students of private schools would be required to complete the military entrance exam. So again, this indicates that the middle class and poor will be recruited to armed forces, and people of a higher stature would not be required to show up. Page 481. This section quite clearly favors policies that are religiously based. And in this case, it's referring to marriage, specifically between men and women, and it criticizes any marriage that's not between a man and a woman. Specifically, any marriage that's heterosexual between a man and a woman is the preferred choice. And it says, protect, this is page 481. This is just a portion of it. Protect faith-based grant recipients from religious liberty violations. Let me just reread that. Protect faith-based grant recipients from religious liberty violations and maintain a biblically based, social science reinforced definition of marriage and family. Biblically based. This is how it's written in Project 2025 on page 481. And it further says, social science reports that assess the objective outcomes for children raised in homes aside from heterosexual intact marriage are clear. All other family forms involve higher levels of instability. I don't see any evidence of that. I've never heard of that, of such a thing. I personally know gay couples that have had children for years with no instability in the family or that child's experience in school and otherwise. All other family forms involve higher levels of instability. The average length of same-sex marriages is half that of heterosexual marriages. Where that stat comes from, I couldn't tell you because, like I said, I know people that have the opposite experience that don't come close to this claim. Higher levels of instability, financial stress or poverty, and poor behavioral, psychological, or educational outcomes. So now they even criticize, now they even suggest that children raised in gay marriages have less beneficial outcomes in education. Again, I'm reading straight from this. There's no reference, there's no support, there's no evidence provided before or after these statements supporting these claims. These are just straight claims, straight assertions with no data to support the assertions made right in the section itself that I just read. This is word for word that I'm reading. And this is page 483. This basically allows corporations, this has been done before, this isn't new, this is going on in states, in mostly red states already. This allows companies, corporations to provide health care to their employees to deny access to contraception in those policies, in those health insurance policies. And this further supports that and wants to continue that across the whole country, across the board. And this is the last section I'm going to cover here, and this is just the tip of the iceberg of Project 2025. This is just a few sections of a 900-page document. I'm not sure if I'm going to do any more of this. I probably will do something maybe. I'm not sure because there's a lot to read. And not everything in there is like doom and gloom, but these particular sections that I saw needed to be talked about, I think. But in this last section I'm going to talk about, it's on page 696. This involves new tax reform. And this says, intermediate tax reform. The Treasury should work with Congress to simplify the tax code by enacting a simple two-rate individual tax system of 15% and 30% that eliminates most deductions, credits, and exclusions. The 30% bracket should begin at or near the Social Security wage base to ensure the combined income and payroll tax structure acts as a nearly flat tax on wage income beyond the standard deduction. The corporate income tax rate should be reduced to 18%. Okay, the average American is going to be paying 30% in this new tax system, this new tax law. Corporations are having their tax rate lowered to 18%. On top of that, the corporate income tax is the most damaging, well, this is another assertion. The corporate income tax is the most damaging tax in the U.S. tax system, and its primary economic burden falls on workers because capital is more mobile than labor. So this is basically saying because these companies are creating jobs, they should be treated better than the individual. Well, I'm all for giving companies tax breaks when they hire new employees or they spend money on research and development to improve their products. I'm all for tax breaks for that. If they hire more people, give them a tax break for the increase of hire. If they create more jobs in their company, Sure, cut some tax, give them a tax break there. If they spend money on research and development to improve their service or products, whatever their services and products are, sure. Yeah, I'm all for that. But this basically gives favoritism to corporations, regardless of whether or not they do anything to improve jobs or provide jobs. This is just the claim that because they provide jobs, then they should be given a bigger break. And it further says capital gains and qualified dividends should be taxed at 15%. Thus, the combined corporate income tax combined with the capital gains or qualified dividends tax rate should be roughly equal to the top individual income tax rate. Well, the individual tax rate is 30%. You take the 18% of corporate tax, of the new lower corporate tax, and the 15% of dividends, that's 33%. So basically corporations we're talking corporations that are profitable, basically, multi-billion corporations are paying a maximum of 33%, just 3% over the average American. I mean, really? So when it's clear that these are corporations that are paying their CEOs millions of dollars a year, and themselves, other executives are making a lot of money, as anyone knows. But the average American is just paying a little bit less, almost the same amount in taxes. And this is supposedly a new flat tax, but still 3% difference between the average American and the corporate tax rate. I don't know. That doesn't sound very balanced to me. But these are just my views. I just thought I'd talk about these things. There might be other things in Project 2025 that are just as concerning for me. I don't know. I've just started to read it. This is a tiny tip of the iceberg right here. But I thought it was important to share what this is saying, because this is a big document, and a lot of people are just going by what they're hearing, on their favorite news channel or whatever. But for me, and I've told my family members as well, especially my mother, who's a Trump fan, who this is planned for if Trump wins, read it for yourself. You may not agree or disagree. You may completely disagree with me on this. That's fine. That's the American way. That's the whole point of this platform of YouTube and of my making this video, is to create interaction with the community about things that, in this case, are very important. Project 2025 is huge. It would alter the United States in more ways than I think people may realize, more than they want. Maybe not enough for some. But anyway, I don't know if I'm going to make more of these videos. Chances are I will on this channel. Train of thoughts. And again, I want to say, I hope Donald Trump is okay. Apparently he was grazed and on his right side of his head. But I hope he's okay. And apparently he has been, well, apparently he is okay from what the last reports I heard. But, I don't know, whoever did that was killed. Apparently the shooter was killed. Which, that's good. He won't threaten anyone else again. Although I prefer someone spend a lifetime for what they do in killing or harming lots of people. But I just hope Trump stays okay. I wish nothing of that nature against him or anyone that I simply disagree with or don't want to be in power. I would never condone such action, and I hope this does not lead to more violence. And I certainly hope it doesn't lead to another attack on the Capitol from this election. So whatever you think of Project 2025, I hope you read it. I think it's important for everyone in this country to read it, regardless of your political affiliation. Read it for yourself. Don't just listen to the echo chamber out there. We all have, sources we listen to. But I think in a case like this, you should read it for yourself. It's a big document, but you can download it. I think I'm planning to, I will put a link in the description so you can click on it and go right to the PDF and download it yourself. But I really recommend that you read this as much as you can. Look at the sections that I spoke of and read around it. But before I wrote down before I pasted these sections, I did read around it to see if there was more to it, and there may be more deeper into the document, and there probably is, but these particular topics I think needed to be, for me, stood out and needed to be discussed and pointed out to. So, hope everybody's doing well. I hope whoever wins that we have return to a peaceful country, and we return to communication over violation. Let's communicate with each other. Let's not turn to violence or hate. There's enough of that already. We don't need to hate people simply for who they are. I don't have control over who I was born to be or what I was born. I was born a straight man. I had no say in the matter, and neither did any of my friends who were not born straight, who were born gay or trans, black, white, Asian, Muslim, Buddhist, Christian, Protestant, evangelical. We're all on the same planet. I hope we can get along better today and moving forward. So take care.